Hi, welcome to Coffee Conversations. I am your host, Jen Lobonc Billhartz with Shock City School of Music, and joining me today is Robert Nelson, St. Louis jazz vocalist. On today's show, there's lots of stories about music, what defines music for Robert, what has inspired him, how music is a spiritual experience as well, and how the emotion behind music is so imperative. Some other stories about a time when he went to New York to live briefly and then came back to St. Louis, and how he is doing as a performer currently in St. Louis. We also dive into the importance of education for our youth with music and how we can collaborate to make that happen. So join us today and stick around to meet Robert. Welcome to Coffee Conversations. I am your host, Jen Lobonc Billhartz with Shock City School of Music, and my guest today is Robert Nelson.
Hey,
welcome.
What's up, everybody? Good to see you guys.
Yeah, and we are recording at Shock City Studios today.
So a really, really cool studio.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here with you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for my tour. This is one incredible studio, and I've heard a lot of wonderful things about it, and I've heard some incredible music that has been recorded here, and I can't wait to get my chance to create a masterpiece.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for the kind
Shock
words.
City Studio. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So you're a musician.
Yes.
From St. Louis.
Yes.
Jazz vocalist.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm hoping we can dive into that and talk about
Absolutely.
your love and passion for music
Absolutely.
and what defines you as a musician.
Wow.
So yeah, it's all you.
Well, of course, I was born and raised right here in St. Louis, so this is home for me. And I had the opportunity to grow up in a historic church, just like all of the greats. I mean, if you look at the story, all of the greats start in church, whether it's Marvin Gaye. His father was a minister, and Marvin Gaye was in church, and he was not allowed to listen to secular music. And of course, Aretha Franklin started in the church, and Gladys Knight started in the church, and Dionne Warwick, many of the greats. And so, like them, I was maybe 7, 8 years old, and I was featured in a Broadway, the radio show,
Oh, wow.
a gospel.
It's at a young age.
Very young age, just singing songs and waiting for, it to be over so that I could, kind of go back to being a kid and just
Sure.
having fun. And, and so that went really, really well. So they say.
Okay.
And
Is there evidence of it still to this day?
I'm sure there's evidence of it.
Okay.
I don't want to be embarrassed by it, but
That sounds adorable.
Well, actually, it was an experience. I mean, I remember we went to the studio. I mean, we were, I was a kid, so I didn't understand the magnitude of what we were doing. For me, it was like, I have to learn the song.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be ready to perform the song and sing the song with everything that I had. And then it was over, and you had juice and, cookies and,
Right.
chicken and salad and whatever. And we had an opportunity to go to a studio. And I remember being in the studio, which is an interesting story to tell here at Shock City. And that is that I remember being in the studio, and we were recording one of the gospel tunes that we did. And I just remember thinking, okay, this is cool. This is practice. One day I'll
Okay.
be big. And when I say big, I mean an adult.
And you knew that at that young age? Like that was something.
It was my hope. I didn't mind being there. I think when we were in the studio, it was very uncomfortable for me because I was the youngest one. They brought me into a studio with a few teenagers, and then they had a couple of young adults to kind of help with the sound.
Okay.
And they liked my sound as a kid, so they wanted me on the recording. But I'm the little dude like this, and everybody else that's recording, and I'm like, all right, let's get it going so that we can move on because, how do I compete with,
Right.
But I thought one day I'll grow up and I'll be an adult and I'll be able to come into the studio, and then I won't be the little kid, and I'll be able to say, hey, let's make some music. And someone would actually listen to me.
Yeah.
When I was there, I had to listen to them.
That's amazing to have that opportunity at such a young age.
Oh, to be in a studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I can see it right now. I remember like it was yesterday.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And to be honest, I've felt as in awe that afternoon as I felt on our tour that we just took.
Really?
I mean, just walking into the studio with nothing. It's the feeling of it. It's like the feeling of possibilities. You know, you're standing in a studio and you're going, I have the audacity to believe that a masterpiece can be made in this room and I can be a part of it.
It's quite a vision. I love it.
Oh, wow.
That is something.
Yeah, it's a vision.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I think like the feeling attached to what you're doing is like so important. And not to get down this rabbit hole, but that's part of like what the vibe is here at Shock City. Is like make you feel relaxed and inspired. So
absolutely.
I mean, like without that feeling, no matter what you're doing or where you're at, like it's just you're gonna fall flat.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
I felt inspired when I came in and during the tour. Yeah. So often musicians, well, I can't speak for all musicians, but so often people don't realize how musicians second guess themselves a lot.
Yes. And
when I walked into the studio with the music that I do and the music that I have done and the music that I like, it's so much more complex than a genre. And, people like to ask you all the time, well, what kind of music do you do, And that's a fair question, I guess. I guess it gives them some kind of an idea or a gauge.
Right.
But, music is not a thing that you just pick and choose. It's not a thing to say you wake up and you go, you know what? I'm going to be a pop. I'm going to, sow some bluegrass,
Yeah.
From my experience, you don't get to choose. The music chooses you. And, I talked to a friend of mine, Christy Jackson, and we had an interview about a few months ago. And she asked me, what made me choose jazz, or when did I choose jazz? And I'm going, you don't choose jazz. You don't get to choose jazz. Jazz chooses you. And it's very selective. And so that's one of the reasons why it was so intimidating. And so I second guessed myself for years. I thought, no, that's not jazz calling my number. That's not jazz ringing my doorbell. That's not jazz tapping on my shoulder, because I associated jazz artists with these great, and I'm thinking, you can't come knocking at my door,
Okay.
But when you talk about a genre and you walk in a studio, you once you start to make peace with music, which is a journey, once you start to make peace with music and you go, okay, all right, I get it. It's a conversation. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm getting it, rather. I'm not in control. You're in control. And so I think that's part of the marriage with music, of the husband and wife, so to speak, with music. That marriage with music is that every day you wake up and your spouse in the music is always telling you, it's going to be my way. And you're going, no, I really don't want to do that. I really, I really like this and I want to do that. And you're not listening. And the music is telling you. So when I came into the studio, and the project that I'm envisioning and the kind of music that is kind of flowing from me through me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it has a genre. I think there are pieces of it that I was like, oh, that has a really nice jazz, thing. Oh, wow. Right there, it gets into this real smooth R&B piece thing. It's like, oh, but I would like for this to go, oh, that's, you're getting into some classic rock with that. I mean, like, where you going? And so I said all that to say is that the music is the music. If you have a marriage and a relationship with it, it will dictate. You don't get to dictate. Walking into Shock City Studios, I felt like, oh, this is a space where I can let go and I can trust the music. And I can say, I am here, I am present. This is how I feel it. Music, lead me, guide me, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that perspective.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, you don't hear a lot of people speak about it that way. So, you know, exactly what you'd said when you were asked, you know, when did you choose jazz? Is that what the question was? You know, sometimes, and so I just really love your approach to it, and that you're just very open-minded, and you're allowing the feeling and the emotion to help define and guide you. You know, because I guess it can be easy to just compartmentalize everything with music and say, well, I have to stay within these parameters because this is what jazz is, or this is how pop is today, and things like that. But to be able to explore in a more full way is going to
cosmic.
It opens up more
cosmic.
Possibilities.
Yeah,
and
it's very cosmic.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's very cosmic for me because much of what you hear, what you actually hear, and what you actually hear in your head.
Yes.
You musicians, you guys know what I'm talking about here. You artists know what I'm talking about. What you actually hear from listening to music, just turning on your Apple or whatever, your Spotify or whatever. What you hear, and then what you hear in your head that's original, you come to realize that it's beyond you. And the skill that it'll take for you to create your music, it's almost like, you know how artists talk about, there was an artist that said that they have a lump of rock.
Okay.
And the sculptor, and they say, well, the sculpture is there. My job is to, you know, just kind of excavate and reveal it. It's that sort of thing. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Because that's how the music is. You hear it and it's there, and you know what it should be like. And when you're preparing to go in a studio and preparing to create that music as you heard it, or as you hear it and as you envision, is having something that exists, that you have to take something and take away and begin to find that thing, that piece of that masterpiece within it. So it's more about taking away more so than creating. The creation is done.
Okay.
And so it's more about removing things and being present so that creation can actually manifest in the studio or on a stage.
Wow. Yeah. No, it sounds very spiritual and philosophical. So,
well, it is. I mean, how else could you explain music? You know, I mean,
no, you're. I agree with you. It's just sometimes that's lost, and so I know that sounds ridiculous, but musicians can also be very analytical, and
they had better be. They had better be.
Music is a spiritual experience, and
absolutely.
It just creates this sensation inside of you that's kind of unlike anything else. And so, but I think sometimes that's lost because there is so much hard work, and it's these moments when like everything aligns that you feel so empowered. And no, I'm totally vibing with what you're saying. So it's just, I love that you're reminding us of that element of being a musician and the power of writing and performing music.
Well, that also comes from a very vulnerable place too. And it comes from a vulnerable place. I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
I was preparing for a big concert, and I had a friend of mine, one of my brothers, Kelvin Evans, and he called me and asked, he was having a show. He had a big concert coming up, and he said, "Hey, Robert, I want you to come and I want you to be my guest." And I'm like, "Great, man, of course. You know, I'll be your guest. I'll be happy. I love his music." And you know, and he asked me to sing 2 songs, and he was clear about what those 2 songs were. And I was just, well, he wanted me to sing 1 song. And then I said, "Hey, I got a song that I think you and I would do really well with." So I kind of made a suggestion. And he was like, "Hey, I think I like that. Let's do it." And I said, "Cool." So we had our 2 songs, and we were great. And a couple of days before the show, the performance, he called me. He was like, hey, I got an idea. He had an inspiration. And he goes, do you know Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, don't you? I'm going, yeah, man, sure, of course. I mean, like, hey, that's a classic. Sure, I can do this. And so I hang up the phone. And the moment that I hang up the phone, I decide I am not going to show up at this concert. I will be a no-show.
Okay.
I'm asking myself, what made you think that it was okay for you to tell this guy that you could perform Marvin Gaye's What's Going On in his concert? I thought that the magnitude of the song and what it meant, what it stood for, how classic it was, I consider the song sacred. I consider the song almost like a hymn.
Okay.
A prayer. And I consider Marvin Gaye like just an artist like, don't do any of his music. Let's just all love it. Let's spin the record. Hey, DJ, put on some Marvin Gaye, but singers don't get up and even attempt to sing any of his music. And I called a couple of friends and we did a slight change of the key. We thought about, I was like, hey, I just made a mistake. I'm like, look, I just told somebody that I can do this song at a concert. And they're like, Robert, you've got this. You can do this. Let's do this. Let's run through it. Let's run through it in a different key. Let's try this. And we did the song in a concert. And of the 3 songs, it was the one that was, best received. And we have added that, and it amazes me. Now, that was a few years ago. And what that did, when you talk about possibilities, that was an humbling experience for me, because this was a song that I didn't even want to let him know that I was, I never told him. I told him afterwards.
So he knows. Hey, so this won't be shocking if he hears this.
It's not going to be shocking.
Okay.
Because when I had my concert, it went so well, I thought I had a concert coming up a week or so after his, and I wanted him to come and be my guest.
Okay.
And we added it. And I thought, I'm like, let's do it again. Yeah. I'm like, can we do it again? And it was an humbling experience because it helped me to realize that music is so beyond us. I mean, it is so beyond us. I mean, I felt like, this is a song that, I felt in my spirit, this is a song that needs to be sung. And if the opportunity is arising for you to sing the song, and people are asking you and they are paying you and they haven't even heard you sing it, you've never sung it, maybe this is a sign.
Yeah.
And so we did it. It went really, really well. We did it again. It went really well. And every time we perform, sometimes we like to keep it in the set. And every time before I get ready to sing it, I go, I cannot believe that I get to sing this song. And more importantly, I can't believe that people are responding to music that I would have told you years ago, that music that I really couldn't do.
Yeah.
I just didn't think that was something that I could handle. And so the humbling experience is that music will come to you and you will be responsible for it if it's for you. And you just have to do your job and you have to do your part and you have to submit and you have to be, like you said, open-minded.
Absolutely.
And you have to allow yourself to be open for the music to come through you and go to the people. So
that's wonderful. So my first thought after hearing the story is, did Kelvin know something about the power of the song and you singing it? Since that was his one request. I wonder what
I'm going to say,
from the opposite side of it, like
Kelvin is my brother. Kelvin wanted the song because he knew he would sound good on it.
Okay.
He knew he would rock out.
Okay, so there's nothing more than that.
I don't know that to be true. I'm not sure what prompted him to call that.
But it sounds like it's been an amazing gift.
It
that
has been
happened.
A gift that continues to give. I did it the other day, and to be honest, with everything that's going on in our country right now, well, my God, I'm thinking, you have to sing the song. not as a burden, but my God, it's so relevant today. I mean,
Yeah, it's been, I feel like many artists have sung it recently, and it's been
yeah.
supportive in a certain way.
Yes, I think that people need to hear it, and I think that people understand it. And I mean, I performed it last week at a lake boat club, outdoor social distance event. Beautiful, beautiful community, beautiful people. And there were people there of all ages and all ethnic backgrounds. And when it came on, they were just like, I mean, just looking at their faces like, yes, just shower me with the rain,
It's
and
wonderful.
I thought, wow. I said, and this song was written in 1971. And I'm thinking that it is so relevant today for all of us.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's so prophetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that being said, that's how I choose to see music. That, that particular song, his brother Frankie was in the Vietnam War, and he was actually writing Marvin letters from the war. And Marvin would read the letters. And Marvin was a very, very sensitive artist. And he would weep, of course, because his brother was, and it was a war that they didn't understand. And, and Black soldiers were even more confused. They were, thinking, what will happen when I come home? My country doesn't really love me. I'm fighting for the country, but I don't understand why I'm fighting Vietnamese, because they just seemed like cool people. They didn't even they really didn't have a sense of why they were there and why they should be fighting these people that they didn't understand. They were like, these guys didn't do anything to me, but I have to fight them. And then they come home and then they feel like they have to fight at home. So it is
tremendous.
It's a prophetic song, and music is just like that. It speaks to the hearts and the souls of men, and it speaks to the emotions and the passions of women. So it's so powerful that I don't think that I get to play around with it.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. No, I just, I would say recently just kind of become acquainted. So, I don't know a ton about your personality or your background or anything like that, but it's just
crazy.
It's crazy. But I can just tell how kind you are. And I just love this, just how music is so moving to you and how you're just reminding, myself and all of the viewers about how powerful it is. It truly is. And sometimes it just gets lost. And like I said, musicians are very analytical, and we just talk about, getting from A to B or the process. And it's like, well, but why are you doing that? And you've just answered it.
Yeah.
So that's music, incredible.
It has one of the other benefits, two things. I remember being a kid and being very young, and my siblings were a lot older than me, so they weren't really of age where they could play with me.
Okay.
So I remember creating my own play space, and my play space revolved around cars. I love, model cars and still do. I love real cars. Cars and music. And the interesting thing was that each of my older brothers, they had different collections of music. And so I had a study. I was able to study music at a very young age. I had one brother who was really into funk. I mean, he loved Rick James and Bootsy Collins and Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton. So I would go album after album in his crate, and it would just be a funk jam fest all night long, right?
Wow.
And then I had another brother who was pretty much classic R&B. So when I would go through his, they all had their own crates. Yeah. They separated the music.
It's nice they let you go through them.
Well, no, they didn't.
They didn't know?
No, they didn't know. I waited until they were gone with their girlfriends.
Okay.
And then I snuck down in the basement and I started digging through the crates. And
Good work.
Good work, right? And so it would be classic, OJ's, Diana Ross, The Temptations, New Edition, it would be the classic. But then I had another brother, his name is Michael. And when I would go through his crate, the art even looked different.
Okay.
It was a very sophisticated crate. And there were artists in that crate by the name of Ramsey Lewis and Herbie Hancock and Grover Washington Jr. and Billie Holiday and Deborah Laws. And I thought, and when I put that music on, each of those crates was a ride. Each of those crates, the soul crate was a ride, the funk crate was a ride. But when I got to that jazz crate and I put the music on, oh my God, I went further. It transported me more. And I thought, it was like opening up a new portal to a new world.
Okay.
And I wanted to explore that world more and more. So I remember just listening, just hours and hours of artists that I had never heard of and falling in love and weeping and just being on a trip. I don't know if it was Carl Jung or one of those philosophers, one of those writers, said that the imagination is the passport that takes you into the real world. The imagination is the passport that takes you into the real world. And so I realized that as a young kid, I allowed music to transport me into a different world. And I wanted to live in that world. Yeah. When I would listen to live music, I remember listening to Aretha Franklin live in Paris. And we didn't have video at that time. We didn't have video. It was just a vinyl record, and you just put the penny on it, and you make sure that it doesn't skip. And you dust that thing off and you go. And I remember feeling like I was there. I remember listening to Aretha Franklin live at Fillmore West. Are you familiar? It's a classic, just a classic live album.
I'm not sure on that specific.
I was at that show. I remember listening. There's an artist by the name of Sylvester.
Okay.
He hung out with Harvey Milk in the San Francisco scene in the late 70s. And my brother had the album, and it was called Sylvester Living Proof. And it was a live album at the Metropolitan Opera, and you put the record on, ladies and gentlemen, and the audience applause, and I'm sitting there applauding because I'm being transported. And at that moment, I'm in San Francisco at the Metro, and I'm 8 years old.
Well, I feel like I'm there now.
Right. And I listened to the entire project from beginning to end. And I did that with a lot of live albums. And so music has transported me into a different world for so long that I wanted to live in the world.
Yeah.
And I realized, and it came to me, that me living in that world means that I am a part of that world. I didn't just get to be transported into that world and not do something. So I had to become a part of the music. I had to be a part of contributing to the music. And so now I feel like now what I'm doing now as a musician is living that world that I created. I'm bringing that world and making this world, bringing those two worlds as one.
Wow, that's amazing. So you've achieved it. You had this vision.
Yes.
Your imagination.
The imagination.
And you made it into a reality.
Yeah. You make it into a reality.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't explain it. It's
so
it's
many
hard
people's dream, though. It's like, it's incredible. It really is.
But Jen, you don't go into that world thinking like, "Hey, I'm Superman. I'm going to come in this world and I'm going to do." You don't. You don't. You listen to the greats and you think, you as a young person, you go like, "This is totally freaking amazing." You're not thinking that you can really do anything remotely near that.
Sometimes. I don't know. You're being very modest.
I hope that I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. This is just the part where talking about it just reminds me so much of the insecurities with performing music and writing music and singing music. And I think that having so many musician friends now, I think it's very comforting to me because I feel like they understand. I feel like I'm within a group, a community.
Absolutely.
That really understands how vulnerable and how frightening, this can be. And I think that they get it.
Oh, for sure. A lot of it's like beyond your control. So much of it is.
Absolutely.
Coffee Conversations and Shock City School of Music is delighted to be a sponsor of a wonderful upcoming event. We just got new information about Wineapallooza, and I wanted to share that with you today. So Wineapallooza, it's Wineapallooza, is a wine and music tasting event, and it is happening October 17th at a winery in Nevada, Missouri. Tickets are only $5 and come with a complimentary glass of wine or non-alcoholic beverage. And they just today announced the lineup. We've got headlining Matthew Gardner, Todd et al., who was a previous guest of ours, Matthew Harper, Cowboy Russell Wayne, Dangerous Doug, Andrew and Logan, and gates open with DJ Skinny for a pre-party. Event is from 1 until 8 p.m., Saturday, October 17th in Nevada, Missouri at DeLaney Vineyard and Winery. Again, $5 tickets includes music from all of those lovely artists, plus a complimentary glass of wine. So make sure you put that into your schedule and check them out. And again, we are so happy to be sponsoring this wonderful event this year. So I know, I hope this is an okay segue into your New York story.
Oh, okay. Well, I love the New York story. It's funny to me. And it's so much to it. Of course, I couldn't tell you all of it, but it was a very transformative time for me in my life. And I think it was very transformative and defining for Robert Nelson, the musician, Robert Nelson, the artist. And I don't know if you remember the movie Coming to America. And Prince Akeem, he takes a map out because he's looking for a queen.
Okay.
And because he's a king, and he says, if you want to find a queen, then you should go to Queens. So they see Queens on the map. And like, I'm going to find a queen, I'll go to Queens.
Okay.
And so, of course, he goes to Queens and he searches for his queen. And ironically, he finds her. Much like Prince Akeem, I thought, if I'm going to be a jazz singer, I thought, you know what? You need some Harlem. You need some of that in your blood. You need some of that energy, some of that spirit of the Harlem Renaissance. If you can get that kind of infused in your blood, then you become a jazz singer. I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
It's your vision.
It's my vision. So I packed up my things and I sold my car and I told my family, I'm out. I'm going to New York. I'm going to be a jazz singer in Harlem. And I had an amazing time in New York, outside of my hometown.
Okay.
It is my favorite city.
And when was this?
This was before 9/11.
Okay.
And, we worked on music, and the whole idea was to be inspired by New York, to meet people, to begin recording, to begin performing live, and to just kind of get into the scene and get the vibe going and feel it. And so a lot of that was happening, but I had an opportunity to work for Sony Records. I had an opportunity to work for Epic, which is still Sony.
Okay.
But I worked for both divisions and for Jive, and began recording and exploring music. And then family called, and we had situations going on back here in St. Louis, and I had to come back to St. Louis. And when I came here, I started my family. I started with the kids. Everything started to happen. I kind of didn't know that was going to happen, but I came to really take care of relatives who had gotten sick. And during the time, I started having the kids. And so by the time the relatives had made transition and we took care of that, then I thought, well, I can't get back to recording and doing music because now I have 2 children that really, really need me. So I gave up like 17 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, of practically no theater, no performing, wasn't writing as much, definitely was not singing, and started to believe that my run had, I was like, dude, you're dad, you're going to be sitting on the swing in the backyard, reading the books with the little paint stuff that the kids put all over your face. You're a mom.
Yes.
You know that look, right?
Yeah.
I thought this is going to be it for you, and then after about 16, 17 years, some of the guys here, some of the incredible musicians that are regional here, they began to say, no, you're going to get up and you're going to come back and you're going to start singing and start performing. And I'm thinking, dude, I can't do that anymore. I'm thinking.
That had been too long?
Oh, I thought it had been too long. I thought that I had started smoking, I don't know, eating cake and stuff all night, no exercise, not running, just being a dad.
Yeah.
Kids like you when you gain a couple of pounds. That's something for the kids to lay in your arms. It's just something that we parents do. We let ourselves go for our kids. But they insisted that this was the time. And I think they were right. We put the band back together and we put together an incredible, what we thought was an incredible collection of classic music that we thought that people could really relate to and appreciate, music that we thought that was standing the test of time and that touched the hearts and the minds of people. And that was fun to listen to.
Okay.
And we started kind of getting out and meeting people and rocking out and having fun. And people started responding really, really well. And I thought, wow, I'm home. I'm like, this is what I was looking for. This is what I thought that would happen for us in New York. And no disrespect, I mean, things did happen, but I think the love that I have experienced since coming back to St. Louis has been incredible for me. And I think that St. Louis, the way they have embraced me and the music, I think that this helps to define Robert Nelson, the artist.
It's wonderful. So when did this all start taking place again? Like, when did you get back into the music scene here in St. Louis?
About 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's relatively fresh.
It's relatively fresh.
That's amazing. So,
it's relatively
wow,
fresh.
welcome back.
Yes. I mean, it was a really big welcome. We did the first concert that we had, we thought that we were starting from ground zero, and we had a concert at the historic Judson House.
Okay.
That place was jam packed. And we thought, how do they know? Everybody was like, we didn't expect, and it was like people were waiting. It was as if people were waiting and ready, like, let's go, we're ready to go. Then we did the second annual Rhythm and Jazz in the courtyard at the Judson House. The next year, the size had almost doubled. Wow. And it was actually Stan, the curator there at the Judson House. He said, this is our highest attended concert in our history. And I'm thinking, we're just kind of like warming up here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the pressure, though, I'm thinking, my God, we're getting such wonderful feedback that I'm like, are we ready? I thought that I would work on the show and work on the act, and I thought we would kind of build it, and then we would say, we've taken about, a few months to kind of fine tune things. Mm-hmm. Now we're ready to present. No, it was presentation on day
Be ready
one.
To go.
And the good news is that everything went really, really, really well. Yes, much better than I had expected.
Well, that kind of ties back to what we spoke about in the beginning, right? It's out of your control. Out of
my control. But that's the beauty of it, I mean, and that's the piece that keeps you very humble. You go like, wow, how did I do? I didn't do that. How did that happen? It's like, wow.
But no, the music community in St. Louis is fantastic. And
oh my God.
I don't know if people will hate me for saying this or not, but I used to hate St. Louis. Like, I didn't want to be here. I went away for college and thought I'd never come back. And the only thing that kind of like reinvented it for me was, I think meeting Jim Manley and Chris Swan. Mm-hmm. They were playing at Sasha's, and I just went up. I had an opportunity to play with Jim Manley. Really? Yes, Jim is amazing. He is incredible. But I remember just like going up to Chris and saying, "It's so good to meet you. You're wonderful. I studied piano. I love piano. You're great." And then I just started like going back, and then the group grew, and then it's very welcoming and it's incredible. And that's really been, I don't know if I want to say like a Band-Aid to the problem, but it's just reopened my appreciation for St. Louis. And it's not just jazz, it's everything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But, you know, jazz and blues, of course, is, I would say, huge here.
Oh,
and
yeah. But see, I didn't know that, Jen. I mean, the same experience you had as the
I didn't
one
know
that
either.
I didn't know.
I was like, what is this?
Right.
This guy's playing trumpet, like in this little wine bar.
Exactly.
But no, I love it. And, you know, there's so many opportunities to just hear wonderful musicians. Like
Absolutely.
you and Eric playing in the middle of a park in Maplewood.
Yeah. We were so excited, man.
You know,
we were
it's like
so excited.
this talent is just here for our taking. And
Yeah.
I hope musicians like yourself feel appreciated and loved
I appreciate that.
with everything.
And I take that for all of the musicians that are not here with me that are friends of
Yes.
mine. And I feel like I represent them, and I want them to know that. I mean, that means a lot to us. That means a lot to us.
It's wonderful. It's one of my favorite things about the city. Yeah, for
I
sure.
didn't
I mean, you
know
can
that.
I mean, on any given day, there's at least like 5 good, solid shows.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on the weekend,
Yeah.
you have to fight yourself. Like, who do I want to see?
Exactly. Yes. Last night, well, you know, my son was in town.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit, and my son was in town. But last night, and I said that I was, you know, I cleared my schedule and I was going to stay with my son all night. But I got on my phone, I'm thinking, like, wow, there's a show here, and I really want to see her. But I'm like, this is my girl. You know, I know her, and we're friends, and I want to be there. And I'm like, but oh, my guys, I played with them before. They're playing on the other side of town. And I didn't go to any of the shows because my son was in town. But I'm thinking there's so much to choose from.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And they all aren't the same. It's not the same, you know, to one place, they're rocking it out. And, you know, you go to another place and it's real cool and jazzy and just relaxed and a little glass of wine. And you go to some other place and you're bumping and grinding, you know. That's what I love about St. Louis, you know. And you want all of that in music.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes you feel like a little bump and grind. And sometimes you feel like a very sophisticated pomegranate Bellini and a trumpet player. Or champagne and Robert Nelson.
Yes.
Or Hennessy.
No, but it's just incredible.
Yeah, I agree. Our community, I didn't know this before I left. You know, it's like, this is the story of the Wizard of Oz.
It hit me too. And I don't know if it's because I grew up in the county and I was young and
You didn't know.
I didn't know. So, you know, nothing against my parents because you've met my father.
Yes,
Actually,
yes. Your father's a huge music lover.
He is. And that's always been such an important part of his life. But
he was at my last performance.
Yeah.
At Return to Love. Sold out.
Yes, at the Blue Strawberry.
Your dad was there.
But he just loves it. But, you know, growing up, we were so highly involved in so many things and it just wasn't a priority for us to, and a lot of it's not always, but you're in these more adult places. And so you wouldn't like want to bring little kids,
and
but there's also great opportunities for like family friendly venues for sure.
And there are opportunities for kids. I recently I did a master class for Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, wow.
Yes, with Harvey Lockhart and Hill Center for the Arts. And Harvey called me and says, hey, I want you to come and help with a program that he has where he is making sure that many of our inner city kids have exposure and have access to music programs.
It's so important.
And he's willing to really do the work. And he asked me to come and help, and I did. And we taught Wynton Marsalis's one of his books to the kids, and how jazz can change your life is the title of the book. And that's recommended reading for every musician, not just our kids.
How jazz changed my life.
How jazz can change your life.
Oh, how jazz can change your life.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did workshops for Heal the Center of the Arts, and we coordinated with Mr. Marsalis and Jazz Lincoln Center for the Arts. And he came to St. Louis, and we had created a master class, and he took questions from the kids after our reading of the book, after studying the book. It was an incredible experience. And so I said that all to say that St. Louis is not only an incredible city for performing artists and for people to come out to different venues, and so outdoor venues as well for social distancing, during this time. But it's also an incredible place for students. And what Shock City offers in terms of teaching kids and exposing kids to music, I mean, that's a great opportunity for kids. What we do at Hills
Thank you for that.
for the arts. I mean, I'm just saying that it's incredible for everybody, for the musician, for those that just love music, and then for kids as well. I don't remember such programs when I was young, having the exposure. My exposure to the music came through the church.
Okay.
So the church, during those times when I was young, it served as a center, a music center for us. But now St. Louis has diverse programs for kids, great opportunities for music lovers, and tons of opportunities for
so many
musicians and artists. And the music that they're doing is so embraced. I mean, whether it's hip hop, spoken word, jazz music, rock music. I mean, St. Louis is really eating it up, and they're finding their audiences.
No, I agree completely. I think it's wonderful. And it's so important to get kids exposed to quality music. And there are a lot of opportunities for it, that are free and just there.
Yeah.
Not that it shouldn't be free, but, I think the community is, coming together so nicely to create programs where there are gaps. Because we have this huge issue with funding in the public schools, and the music program is first to go.
Yes. I'm glad you said. I didn't want to say that because I would have had an ugly look on my face. And
it's not true to every thing in every place, but so I don't want to say that as a blanket statement, but so it's just remarkable to see St. Louis, city and county, to step up and present these other opportunities.
Absolutely.
And same thing. Like when I was growing up, it's like if there were the opportunities there are right now, I would have been all over that. I would have loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to see, in the future, how this is going to help even further shape the music community.
Absolutely. And I want to be a part of that too. We had started some conversations with some individuals that I had been meeting. We were talking about starting forums where we can begin the conversation and figuring out how can we make sure that, the arts is seen as a viable part of our community, how we're making sure that we're bringing diversity into our arts.
For sure.
A lot of times, a lot of artists, for whatever reason, don't have access to perform in different places. And I'm thinking, what's that all about? I mean, the people in this area, they need to hear this music, and they want to hear this music as much as anybody else. So I'm hoping to begin the conversation and partnering with other individuals in different communities, and partnering with Maplewood, who've really embraced Robert Nelson and Renaissance. But we want to make sure that I'm thinking, hey, the door is so open. There's so many artists who, that I'm hoping that they can get an opportunity. Different places can get an opportunity to hear these artists and make sure that they're booking these artists in their communities, in the venues, creating opportunities where, kids in different areas of our city are and residents are being exposed to some of the amazing music and amazing artists that's coming out of our communities. I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. And I think it's very imperative that we begin to support local and regional artists. They're our artists. We have to support them. Someone else, because if someone else starts supporting them, they move. They'll move to Kansas City, or they'll move to New York, or they'll move to Chicago. We want to keep those artists right here. And so we have to support them and make sure that they're able to, to take care of their families, and they're able to, benefit from the art that they do, and that they so generously give to our community,
No, I agree with that. I know there's this, I don't want to get too political on things, but oftentimes musicians aren't taken care of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's a little obvious, but it's not like...
It's historical. But it's unacceptable.
And some people, I don't want to get age into it, but some of the younger people just embrace it. They're like, I I'm young, I'm living on rice and beans, and I'm just whatever. I'll shop at Goodwill, and it's just the life. And they love the grungy lifestyle, and that's
the whole starving
great.
Artist thing.
Yes.
They're earning their keep.
I mean, that can totally be a thing, but then we're talking about artists, such as yourself and other wonderful artists, that this could be your livelihood.
Yes.
And
for many it is. For many
yes, and just respecting that and paying people more than $20 an hour when they're just working 2 or 3 hours a day, like that doesn't cut it. And there's no health benefits. You can't, it's hard to support a family. And so I completely agree with you. We have to embrace our local artists and keep them here.
Yes.
And really show the love and support, because it's a career, and it's more than just a pastime or a hobby. And, like more importantly, like we're talking about the youth, and you want to inspire them to know, okay, you can do this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This can be everything to you.
Absolutely.
And you don't want there to be that fear element of, well, I need a backup plan. Like,
right.
No, you can do it.
Yeah.
But we all have to team up together, which, you said it perfectly. It's just so imperative.
And we also have to make sure, when you talk about inspiring the younger people, that much of the music that we do and we embrace, that we keep alive. My band is Renaissance, which is a rebirth, and then I really love the word evolution, because I see myself in music and what we're doing as a rebirth and an evolution, as a cycle. And so the young people, they need to hear the music. They need to know about the music, because we're going to need them to continue the music.
Yes.
We can never allow the music of Duke Ellington to be a thing of the past. That is current music. I say this all the time, and I don't care if people look at me weird, but when I think of the music of what people call the past, I think of classic music of Ellington or Count Basie, or you name anybody, John Lennon, and when you look at that music and you look at the sheet music of Imagine, or you look at some sheet music of Bob Dylan's music, or you look at sheet music of Marvin Gaye's music, that is not old music. That is current music. When it's on the sheet and you begin to play the music, it is happening in the moment,
now,
and it is real.
Yeah.
And it's alive. And so I shun the idea that this is old music and that it's past music. I go, no, this is current music. It is alive. And our young people must be inspired, because we need them to continue the music of the Lennons. We need them to continue to hear songs of the Dylans and the Marvin Gayes. And
absolutely.
We must, and the Duke Ellingtons, and we must hear Count Basie's music. That music must go into the future. It must continue to go to the future, as the same way we do with Mozart.
Yep.
And so there's a tall order, and the musician is kind of responsible. They are the Pied Piper for saying in our community, this music heals you. So we're going to make sure that you get it live, so that you have that vibe coming through you to heal your body. This music is very relevant to our community. It's historical. It has so much history and so much, and we're going to keep it alive, and we want the young people to know about it, because you're going to be the next musicians that are going to continue this music.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's, I think the live music, I like how you said music is healing.
Yes.
Going to a live performance. And I think so many of us were starved for that back in March, April, and May.
Yes.
Still a little bit starved, because things are quite different.
Yes.
And it was, even for me, that was the most painful thing. And so everyone tried to recreate things and do these live streams. And it's not the same. Yes, you're laughing. At least the music is living on. Right, which we're talking about being so
and at
important.
least the musicians are working, and at least the people who need the music are able to
receive it.
And
it's, we live in this modern day in which we can record things, and having that live, what?
I'm laughing.
Good. I mean, having that live representation of this music is completely essential, and it makes it timeless. But then sometimes you just need that live performance. It's like, this doesn't have to be recorded. It's just an in the moment experience. And, that is, I think, I can't speak for everybody, but those live moments is what's going to inspire people the most, because there's so much more going on than just hearing this flat recording. Not that the music's flat, but it's not three-dimensional, because you're not present. You're not engaging with the artist. You're not engaging with anything. You're not hearing the music in the same capacity. So, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Like, whatever can be done to help that to live and to support those that are responsible for it.
When we first had the lockdown, I mean, it was hell.
They say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so I'd fall all the way to China, a homeless girl living on the streets. Help me, my bottle's getting empty, feeling like I'm losing the game of life. I need some help with my self-regulation. Aberration, it's not working out. Not working out. Not working out. Not working out.
I got a phone call. There were some families in a community over in Clayton, a group of doctors who kind of all live on the same street.
Okay.
They all got together and they thought, we need music. This has been too long and this is like crazy. And so they called us, and I'm so grateful that they called us, and they said, hey, would you be willing to come out and just kind of like set up in our cul-de-sac? And we'll provide power, electric cords, and just find a way to set up. And all of the families would come and kind of sit on their front porches, or maybe come and sit out on the lawns. And they had the kids and picnic, blankets and all of that. And they all came out and we performed. And I just looked out over the people, and we were distancing. And I just saw their faces. And I remember how I felt, and feeling the music and hearing the music and performing the music. And I thought, I was just thinking, my God, we needed this.
Yeah. For sure.
We so need it. Yeah.
It's very powerful. And
yeah. So you need those sound waves. It needs to be live. You have to have some of that.
Oh, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Really adds something to it.
My first concert.
Okay.
My first concert, I'm probably about 14. I had no business. I had no business at this concert. I want to say it was 1981.
Okay.
I think I'm maybe in middle school. Maybe getting ready to graduate. Maybe getting ready to go to high school. Maybe somewhere around there. Rick James and Tina Marie at the Checker Dome, which no longer exists.
And who were you with? Because that's important too.
My brother. Now, remember I said that my brothers were older, so they were. They
which
could
one?
be there.
The jazz, the funk,
or you tell me if it's Rick James.
Michael.
No, Michael is the jazz.
Oh, Michael's the jazz. So, I only got the name Michael.
Okay,
so
right.
That
Michael
out.
is the only name that I mentioned. The one that listened to the funk crate. The one that loves the one that loves George Clinton.
You went with the funk crate.
I went with the funk crate, and Rick James is a god. And to listen to the records and being there in person and feeling that music go through you.
It's powerful.
Oh my God. Does
it give you chills? Like, are you one of those people that gets chills when you hear good music?
I got chills when I went to go see Phyllis Hyman at the Fox Theater in 1987.
Okay.
And Phyllis Hyman, God rest her soul, she is this 6-foot-something goddess, jazz singer out of, Philadelphia, the Philadelphia sound. So it's kind of jazz, kind of R&B mix. Incredible vocalist. Masterclass listening to an album of hers. I went to go see her. I was probably about 19. And I thought, I'm going to go and see Phyllis Hyman. I worked at a record store and I was selling her records to people that didn't. Oh, wow. I had people come in and say, hey, man, I want Back in Black. I want some AC/DC. I'm like, I got you. Come on. AC/DC is over. And then I would go, I'm young. You ever heard of this lady named Phyllis Hyman? They're looking like, dude. Do I look like I want to hear Phyllis Hyman? Like, dude, you're going to love it. You haven't even given it a chance, man.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing this Phyllis Hyman. So I go, she's coming to town. I go to the Fox Theater and I sit, I'm in the 8th row. I remember this like yesterday, the 8th row. And I look up at this goddess and I'm thinking, it's like looking up at Mount Rushmore, And I remember looking up at her and I thought, every time she finished the verse and she went into the chorus, I just started clapping each time, And the people, they kind of joined. I was transfixed, if I think that's the right word.
Okay.
So when you talk about chills, I wouldn't say that Rick James gave me chills. Rick James didn't give me chills. Rick James gave me a contact. And he made me walk a little different and he made me feel a little groovier, a little more hip.
Okay.
No,
quite a difference though.
That's a difference. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman sent chills up my arm and down up my spine.
Oh my goodness.
Rick James made me want to be a bad boy. Like, yeah.
Well, I wasn't there. I was trying to bring myself into these moments with you, into the story.
No, you don't get that at a Rick James concert.
You never know.
You never know. Well, Fire and Desire. He did a duet with Tina Marie. It's climactic.
Okay.
But not chills. Phyllis Hyman, chills. Angela Bofill, chills. Yeah.
That's good.
Billie Holiday, chills. Yeah. Somber chills.
Yeah. All right. So to brag on you a little bit more, is that okay?
Please. I'm begging you.
Well, I'm so highly disappointed I missed your show at the Blue Strawberry.
Return to Love.
Oh, I was so looking forward to that. But
when you told me that, told me that, I was like, darn it. Oh, man, I was so looking forward to seeing you. I was so excited about that. It was on my
social calendar for like a month from that the day we met in Maplewood. And I was just, on it. I was like, this is going to be my Saturday night. I had the table reserved with Dave, and my dad was going. It was this whole thing. I was like, no.
Dave was there.
Dave was there, and he brought Joe Mancuso.
Joe was there
in my place.
Yeah.
Who actually has a similar story to yours with being the time separation.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And he's a fantastic singer, and
he's a
thanks to him being
singer.
Sick, I met you.
He's a fantastic man. He's a really nice, yes.
Yeah, great all around man.
Mm-hmm. He's really good to me. I consider Joe like the king of jazz in St. Louis.
Okay.
And when the guys were insisting that I resume performing, I said, well, I'm thinking like, guys, I'm not sure. I'm like, well, okay, give me a list of the jazz guys in the region, and I'll go check out a couple of shows and see what's going on. What's the vibe here, with the guys. And I'm like, well, who's the best? Who's the top? And they said Joe.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of Joe because I just kind of just gotten back in this, the city and kind of got back in the scene. So I went to go and see him. And I had the opportunity to meet him, but I didn't tell him that I was singing. I was scared because I hadn't made up my mind if I was going to go back to this thing.
Right.
But I was just checking it out. And since that time, he and I, we have become friends, and he's become one of my mentors and kind of looked out for me. and kind of opened a few doors for me to make sure that I had the opportunities that I needed, and make sure that other people could have an opportunity to check out what we do. And I did have an opportunity to be his guest at a performance with he and Kim Fuller Barnes. It was the three of us. You're talking about excited. I was so excited because I was the new kid on the block,
Yeah.
back
Where was
on the
that
block.
performance?
That was at the Gaslight Square Theater. Yeah, the three of us. And I thought,
Wow. Powerful.
yeah, I thought if Fuller Barnes is on this show and Joe Mancuso and they invite me, I'm like, man, I made it. I'm like, wow, this is, wow.
I just, I just love, and I think it's inspiring, hopefully, to people more than just myself, but that you talk about having this gap and you focused on your family and then you came back to it and you feel so connected here now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In just a short amount of time. And to me, that's so inspiring. That if music can't be your primary thing, you can always come back to it. And maybe in bigger ways even.
Yeah, for me, I think. I mean, for me. And then too, absolutely. It's going to be there for you.
It's not going to give up on you.
It's not going to. If it's for you. And see, that was the part of the question for me. I'm thinking like, are you kidding me? I thought this was just too good to be true. I'm thinking, music can't be calling for me. Music is here and I'm not there. So this is just all a dream. This is my fantasy world. And then to say, no, you're going to perform in this world and you are going to perform songs of those classics and you're going to write original music and you're going to be on stage with some of the greatest musicians in the Midwest.
Well, you deserve to be. You've got a gorgeous voice.
Well, that's what everyone says, but the artist doesn't really know that.
No, I mean, that's just one compliment out of probably 1,000 I could give you.
But the artist, what you have to understand is the artist, well, I can't speak for all artists, but it's just hard to really get that when you don't feel like when you feel like you're a student.
Can I ask you a challenging question?
Yeah. Let it not be a question that my therapist would ask.
Musician to musician here. You just spoke about, performing with Joe Mancuso and doing all these things.
Yes.
And a previous story about the Judson.
The historic Judson house.
Okay. Would any of these things be happening if your voice weren't incredible and you weren't an incredible musician and people didn't want to come hear you sing because you live up here in the performance realm?
As an artist, you're standing on a stage and you are surrendering to music. And when they kick that music off and you take your butt out there and you open up your mouth, something begins to happen that's a little above.
Yes.
There is some work involved. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to fantasize or dramatize that too much. I mean, there are some pieces that you're conscious of, obviously, because you have to be on point.
Right.
But for the most part, it's almost like a train taking off. And when that train takes off and you're collaborating with an incredible guitar player, an incredible bass player, and all the musicians and the energy and the people that are there, something happens. And so now you're connected with the music, and because you're connected with the music, then things can happen. But for me, it's not about me going out on the stage thinking, oh, I'm getting ready to give it to them. I'm getting ready to tear this.
Sure.
No, there is no me. I have to be removed.
Okay.
And so when people say wonderful things, you say, well, thank you, because you're glad that they enjoyed it.
Right.
But oftentimes you and the band, you guys are going like, oh, man, we messed up on that one. I started off on, you can think of all the things, and then sometimes you're excited like, hey, man, that was a lot of fun. But the reality is it's as much of an experience for me as it is for the audience.
Right.
So I don't feel like, hey, didn't I come and...
Well, and do you sometimes feel like an outsider looking in?
Oh, absolutely.
So have you ever performed another instrument on a stage for people other than singing, without singing, just by itself?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Okay, tell me about that.
No, well, you had mentioned, other members of your performance group saying, well, they're more cognizantly aware of what's going on. Like, oh, maybe I missed that B flat, or my eighth note wasn't right. Whatever. But I think, from my experience, and I've not performed in this realm at all, but singing versus playing an instrument is a completely different experience. I think when you're singing, you're less, as you're mentioning, you're less like physically in control and mentally in control. It's just more of a spiritual. And that's why it's so important to be so prepared, because it's just like these things are happening. Right? Is that kind of what you're trying to relay here? And so, but I think, performing an instrument is a little bit more mechanical.
Okay. I got you.
And so, I mean, at least
a little more muscle memory there.
At least for me, and I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf, but it just feels differently.
Yeah. But when you're playing with a musician, musicians, they're inspired too. And as a singer, when you're listening to a particular, and I'm thinking about, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about different musicians that I play with, and a couple of the combinations of the bands that we do. We're one group, but I might work with these three for this particular show. And then for another show, I might work with a couple of other musicians in our camp with for a different show. And I'm so aware now, acutely aware of the feel that each one has. So if I'm playing with a particular bass player, I mean, he can hit me sometimes in ways where I'm like, I'll sing a song differently.
Sure.
Because he's on that song. And it's just like, oh, dude, you take me there.
Yeah.
I can really, or a different keyboard player, a different musician. So the singer gets inspiration from the musicians, and I'm sure the musicians are inspired by the singer as well. So it's a collaboration.
Absolutely,
I never feel like a performance that I do is all on me.
Right.
I always
you're part of.
I'm part of a collective.
Yes, and it's almost like you're this one entity.
You're this one entity.
Yes, because you're all meshing together. Absolutely.
But I do realize that eyes are usually on the lead singer, especially when your name is in there in all capitals, Robert Nelson. Which is that's marketing, and that's how it goes. That they see that's one name, but it's that one name represents more than that one person, and so you realize that all eyes are on you. But the reality is what people are hearing is not just
it's
all.
It's everything together.
It's everything together.
A singer's performance would be much different without.
Yeah, absolutely. But the singer should be a part of making the selection of those musicians. So it is part of the presentation. It's like, hey, I want Jen on this gig because she's going to bring this, and we need that on that particular show. And so if the singer is focused in helping to form the musicians and form the music and kind of have have some more guidance in what they're hoping that's going to look and sound like, then that does contribute to the overall experience of the music.
Sure. Yeah. Makes complete sense. And it's really important too. I mean, it's like it's just a whole embodied thing. Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, you can definitely tell like when things aren't meshing with a group.
Yeah. You can tell.
Some people can tell. I mean, if there's
the group can tell.
Oh yeah, but
most times the music lovers that come out and check it,
depending on how.
Most times they can't tell. They tend to think that everything kind of went well.
Sound is an interesting thing. Like things definitely sound differently for the performers versus. We talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way back, at the beginning here, how it just sounds differently. But I don't know. I've not had the experience like. I would assume it's a shared collaborative experience between the performer and the audience, though.
Yes.
That's definitely part of it. Like you're getting energy from the
audience. Right. The audience plays a huge part, and they tend not to know that. So the performance that we just we did a few days ago at the lake, they were an incredible audience. And I had to tell them a couple of times, you know,
good.
in the event they didn't know. I mean, we started singing a song. We would kick off a song. And the moment that I started into the first verse or the first line and they caught it, they started clapping. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, a lot of audiences, they're not that in tune.
Okay.
I'm that kind of audience member. But I never want to stick out like a sore thumb. So, you know, a band gets up and they start playing a song and I hear, I'm like, oh, wow. And then I'm like, the only one, I'm like thinking, hey, guys, it's okay to acknowledge that I recognize a song and I'm happy. I mean, it keeps the energy up.
Absolutely.
And so when an audience is responding to you like that, they're a part of the experience that invigorates you as a singer, as a performer. And you're thinking like, wow, they want it, you know, and then you think, okay, here comes the high note, or here comes the low note, where I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to go there. I'm going to, you know, I want to feel this so they can feel it. And, you know, and then once it's over, it's not like, hey, didn't I do a great job? How wonderful am I? Or didn't me and the band do a great job? How wonderful are we? It's like, hey guys, didn't we just have a great, you know, did we not just experience music together? You know, like you and me and these guys, look what just happened. You know, so I think it is a total collective that also includes the audience.
Yeah, for sure can. Yeah, and it needs to. I mean, you don't want to be at the symphony clapping like
exactly
in the middle of something, but
exactly.
There's a time and place for it for sure. Yeah.
So I am writing some music.
You are. Your own music.
Yeah, and I want to come to Shock City Studios and see what we can do with it. But it's kind of scary, you know? It's a little scary.
It's okay to be scared.
It's okay to be scared.
That's okay. That's part of it. I mean, it's a living, moving thing. And
I think that at this point in popular culture, and not some popular culture, I think that one thing that we understand now is the importance of music being real. And I think, you know, I think of a few artists when I say that who may not have had the kind of popular success that we think, we think that if an artist doesn't sell what Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or James Brown has sold, or, you know, or whatever, that level of excitement and exposure, then where are they? And I don't subscribe to that kind of thinking, but we do know that indie artists, independent artists, we are looking for real music. And I think there's a crave and a demand for real music. And so I'm really interested to see what the project will be like, because as we discussed before, I don't feel like I am the architect. No disrespect to Little Richard, because everybody knows that Little Richard is the architect. Okay? Let there be no doubt. Little Richard is the architect. But I realize that I'm not the architect of the project, that the project has to kind of be manifest and it has to be excavated. And I'm so hopeful that it's there. You know, I feel some parts of it and I sense some pieces of it. And I'm just interested to be, you know, kind of guided with the right musicians that I can bounce those ideas off of. We have some incredible musicians in the city. Do you know who you're going to
be working with?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Can you disclose that information?
Oh, this is so exciting. Well, there are some artists that have been in this studio here that I would like to work with. And there's so many to choose from. And maybe I have not met her.
Or do you know?
Or met him.
Do you know
and
what?
I did say her.
Instruments, at least. What?
I haven't met her. I may not have met her or him. What instruments we would, well, for the project? For the recording project?
What, or none, or what, like what?
Well, it would be a recording project, a music project, somewhere in the vein of, you know, some rhythm and jazz, some jazz music, some rhythm music, some soul music, some bossa music, you know, some beautiful ballads, some jazz-inspired ballads, and some maybe some sexy, soulful grooves
Okay.
that's kind of grown and sexy, but sophisticated,
Sure.
but still provocative. You know, we're grown and we like to do things a little differently than what the kids do, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's okay. And so music that really appeals to adults who have been through things, who are parents themselves, who have experienced heartbreak, who feel a little sophisticated on Sunday evenings and want to have their little sophisticated little drinks and the things that make them feel, you know, very mature and worldly. But then on Saturday nights, maybe you need a little something a little steamy for those steamy evenings. But, you know, you want to have your dignity.
Sure.
Because, you know, you got to go to church and take the kids, you know, so you want to have some dignity.
Absolutely.
So it's that kind of music that is real music, that is from the heart, but that touches us in all of the places that we like to be touched.
Okay. I like it. I love the description. I can't wait.
Neither can I.
Can I pre-order this album?
We've got to record it.
I'm going to pre-order before you record it. Dedication.
We've got to
believe in
record
the project.
But there are some incredible musicians in our area, some that I have met and some that I am looking forward to meeting, who I believe would be very, very passionate about the project. We have musicians that are ready to be a part of it, but we really do need to have the brain station in terms of those musicians who are very acutely aware to what the project should sound like sonically, and making sure that it is the ultimate top quality in terms of the recording process, the engineering, and all of that piece. And then brain station those that are making sure that the music, you know, that it's real music, that it's melodic, that it's the music is in concert, and that the instrumentation that is needed for mood is there, that's not needed is not there. And that it's very, very sensible and kind of pragmatic, but at the same time that it's organic. You know, I read in a magazine, Erykah Badu, she talked about her first album. And she said that the album was actually finished when she had taken it to the record company. And she said they wanted to clean it up and make it real glossy and beautiful. And it is an amazing project. I remember Erykah was, she said that she wished that they had allowed it to be the way that she had it at first. She said it was really raw and really kind of gritty sonically. And that it sounded more old before. And she says once the record company got a hold of it, they made it really, really slick and very clean and very polished. And I like old and gritty and grimy, and I like slick, and I like polished. I like it all. And I think having people involved in the project that can help decipher when is it time to be a little gritty, and when is it time to be very slick. You know, I think that all of that contributes to the music and the project. And so I'm interested to see what this process is going to be and what it's going to look like and going to sound like.
Yeah, me too. All these promises now, but you're going to make it happen.
Well, yeah, and I'm inviting people, you know, if you want to be involved in a project like this, if this is something that sounds like it's really interesting to you, you know, this is a community thing. I don't own the music. Now, when I write the music and we get it copywritten, I own my right. But, you know, the music is there, and it's a collage. So it's not uncommon for some young lady or some young man to come and say, hey, here's a contribution to this project. Yeah, I have some ideas and I want to work on a song or two. And that's how it works. That's how it works.
Okay. Very cool. Keep us in the loop on that for sure.
I'll be calling you so I can get in the studio.
What other, besides that, what other upcoming performances?
Okay, good. I think, let me see. Let me check out my, let's see.
Okay,
Saturday, November 7th.
November 7th.
Saturday, November 7th. We will be back at the Blue Strawberry in Midtown St. Louis. Really cool spot, groovy spot.
Yep.
We are working on a performance that we are calling the After 5 jazz party.
Ooh, I like it.
You like that? The After 5 jazz party?
I do. Kind of rhymes a little bit.
Yeah, the After 5 jazz party. I think it gives us an opportunity to be grown and sexy, to come out to hear some kind of sophisticated jazz music, in the beginning that we all like, some Ladies a Tramp and The Way You Look Tonight, that classic thing. And then as we begin to party and we all have a couple of drinks, because these are all adults, we can kind of relax a little bit, and we can do some numbers that may be familiar, that were made popular by, Phil Collins and Michael McDonald, and, we have a party,
Yeah.
People want to party, and so we love jazz music, and we love to kick our sets off with that. We don't turn away from that, but we know that people want to feel the beat, they want to feel the music, and they want to let loose. And so we're able to create performances and shows and sets that has the audience in mind, the music lover in mind.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And it becomes an experience.
Right. Yeah, a whole thing.
It's an experience, yes.
Do you know who you'll be performing with?
Glenn Smith.
Okay, on bass.
Yes, you know Glenn. Yeah, that's my buddy. Glenn Smith on bass. Eric Slaughter.
Nice.
On guitar. Yeah, he's my buddy. That's my partner in crime. Together we have created a really unique sound. We met a young man by the name of Everett Benton.
Okay.
And I think that he's going to be joining us on drums, I'm hoping. If not, we'll have James Jackson, who is my mentor. And he's been very, very busy, but we're trying to get him back out. He's one of the most incredible drummers that I've heard. When David Foster says, "Hey, I've heard a lot about you, and I'm going to invite you to come and hang out and party with us this evening at a gala," then you're a bad drummer. And that's James Jackson. He's my mentor.
Okay.
And I think that he'll probably be there.
Wonderful.
We're giving some young guys an opportunity. So Everett is one of the young kids that we're like, hey, he's incredible. So we're kind of bringing and coupling up-and-coming young talented musicians with some of the more seasoned musicians.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Yeah. So November 7th.
Saturday, November 7th.
And that's a ticketed event.
That's a ticketed event, and you can actually go on the website and on their website, on Blue Strawberry's website, and make your reservation, because you want to have dinner first. You want to have dinner, have a couple of cocktails. They have great food. We're also at Parkside Grill on every first Friday. Yeah, and that's in Chesterfield. Yes, every first Friday.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that because Chesterfield is another gym. Chesterfield is another one of our communities here in St. Louis that they tend to like to stay in their area. And so they've opened the door and they bring us there once a month. And that's
the first Friday?
Every first Friday.
You and...
Same group. Yeah, it's Glenn and Eric and I. And sometimes I'll bring in other musicians to make sure that, we're just trying to keep all of our musicians working. That's particularly after everything that we've been through. Musicians have taken a very, very hard hit. For sure. And they've been wonderful there. I know... They got a whole good outdoor setup. It's outdoor. It's parking lot. Everything is social distancing. Yeah, absolutely. And so they've kind of minimized the capacity so that we have space. They do have outdoor space. We are performing outdoors at Parkside. We're still doing our social distance and private events. There's a really cool network of couples. Of course, I can't mention their names, but they are private clients around the region. And what they are doing is they're getting with, and if you want to do this, you should do this too, and contact me. We'll be happy to come in and do these for you. They get about, 5 or 6 or 7 couples, and the weather has been permitting that they'll have just a beautiful setup in their backyard, tablecloths and champagne glasses.
Oh, lovely.
And we play on the deck, and they get to enjoy themselves because they aren't going out. There are a lot of people that are choosing not to go back into venues, and we understand that. And so they're bringing us to them, but as friends, they're creating a hub. Sure, so they feel more safe, but they're still with their select people. Their select people that they know and wonderful. That they frequent with. And then they still do a social distance thing with that. And we've been lucky enough to be able to come and make some of those events very special for them. Some of them have been anniversary parties. and birthday parties.
Okay. Lovely.
And engagement parties and just, and man, it is so much fun to be surrounded by all of that love.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know these couples. They just call me and I get there and I'm like, man, thank you so much for inviting me. They're like, dude, you're the performer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I feel the love.
Feels so good. Yeah.
Yeah, your friends and your family. And I'm invited to this. This is, I get to be.
I want to go.
I get to be around the love. So
Yeah.
it's all about love. And the last event was called Return to Love. And I almost named this one More Love.
Okay.
More Love. But we'll save that for another. I think this is good. I'm ready to party. So this is the After 5 jazz party.
Good.
After 5.
Well, I'm going to try and be there this time.
I hope so.
One of them at least. Yeah.
We're going to party.
Good.
Yeah, we're going to party. We're going to have a good time.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so your website, which I love, by the way, is not the website itself. Well, yes, that too. But the title of it is I Am Robert Nelson.
Yes.
Which
So, yeah, our website is
just-
www.iamrobertnelson.com. Yeah, that's it.
It's
And
perfect. It's so simple, but it's so to the point.
Yeah.
Because that's who you are.
That's who I am. I am Robert Nelson. Some people walk up to me sometime and they go like, you are Robert Nelson.
Well, you've kind of created that for yourself. So I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And I remember it.
You remember, it's, yeah.
And so I don't know if it was intended to be a marketing thing or not, but it resonates with me to the point in which
The group
I'm, because I'm assuming your name is quite popular, Robert Nelson, like if you were to Google
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
So you could get lost in a mix of
Yes,
people.
yes.
So that really helps it to stand out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
way to go on that.
Also on Instagram. So I am on Facebook as Robert Nelson. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, I'm Robert Nelson. Also, I've put together I'm putting together a virtual magazine. It's called Renaissance Magazine. Yeah, you can find that on
Really?
Facebook. Yeah. It's still in the works. It's kind of up, but it's under construction, but I'm kind of excited. I just need to make sure that I have enough time to editor-in-chief a magazine because I have a degree in writing. And,
really? Oh.
Yes, from Lindenwood University.
Wonderful.
And so I love to write and focus on the music. I mean, I consider myself a Renaissance man, which means that I have my hands in a lot of things.
Yep.
And it's just making sure that you bring those things to fruition and making sure that these are the right things at the right time. And but I do enjoy Instagram a lot.
Okay.
I didn't think
You're
that I
having fun with
would.
that?
I'm having fun with it. So if you want to follow me, please follow on Instagram. It is I Am Robert Nelson STL. At I Am Robert Nelson STL. Is that right?
I
IG. I mean, is that
don't know
you
how
say it?
Instagram
How do you
works.
say it?
I'm too old for Instagram.
IG. It's
I don't know.
IG at I Am Robert Nelson STL. You'll find it. And
yeah.
I did not want to be in social media, but they were like, Robert, you have to be a part of social media as an artist.
Especially Facebook. I think there's such how else are you going to find
How else are you going to find it? I get
in
it.
in one place? How are you
I
going
get
to
it.
find these
I get
events?
Well, Instagram allows me to meet different people from overseas, other singers and recording artists and jazz artists and blues artists and painters and writers, magazine writers and photographers.
Anyone, really. It's
Yeah,
just-
and so I have this streamline where I'm just like following and interacting with all of these different artists, and from Miami, from Paris, from San Francisco and New York, Harlem.
Wow.
Met a young man who's working on an exhibit that's coming in 21, and I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that we'll get a chance to perform at the exhibition.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
because this is the Harlem Renaissance. I mean, my music is based, my concept of what we were doing live was based in the Harlem Renaissance, and it is an evolution of the music that comes out of that. So we start with, music of Duke Ellington and Count Basie and all that, and then within about 3 or 4 songs, we're already opening up to music of Miles Davis, Grover Washington Jr., Bill Withers, it's an evolution, but I see the Harlem Renaissance as really an epicenter, so to speak. And for him to work on this exhibit, his name is Ricky Day, for him to work on this exhibit, I felt compelled that I must be a part of this.
This is in Harlem?
This is in Harlem.
So
Yes, and I'm reaching out, weekly. I'm trying not to stalk, but I'm thinking we've got to be a part of this. And so we're just looking to partner with people who really want to do quality art. I've done sight and sound events with a number of artists where I'm singing at the piano and they're actually painting. I mean, this is what it's all about for me. I mean, it's not just the music, but the art and the music and the sound and the visual and the painting and the theatrics. All of this is very enriching to our communities, and I want to be a part of that. And I want to collaborate with people, I mean, let's get it cracking.
Yeah.
We've got so much time. I mean, we're...
You're right. Life is short.
This is Armageddon.
Life is
I mean,
short.
we've got tanks outside in Portland, and we've got, people being shot down in the streets. I mean, we've got to get some art and some music out here, man. That music and that art has to be a part of this time. So there's an urgency, in my opinion, for quality art that represents where we are and that is aimed to heal the people, heal a nation.
Absolutely. Healing, yes. And,
I didn't mean to get on my soapbox.
No, it's all... No, it's all wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just putting all the pieces together.
Yeah.
It's an incredible puzzle that you and a painting that you've drawn out for us. So
wow.
Yeah. All right, last words, last thoughts.
My last thoughts.
We could go on forever.
I can go on forever with you. You're a joy.
Well,
First of all, I want to thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. This is a dream. One of those things you talked about, like making the dream come true.
Yeah. Shock City Studios, everybody. You should check out the website. You should check out the website, and you should find out what programs they have, particularly for your kids and for you musicians. I want some of you guys to reach out to me so we can come to the studio and we can set up some studio time and we can make some incredible music and do some wonderful things. I'm honored to be here and spend this evening with you.
Well, thank you. Likewise.
And the guys. And you guys have made me so comfortable. I hope to see you guys at the Blue Strawberry on Saturday, November the 7th.
7th, you said?
For the After 5 jazz party. Oh, I love that. The After 5 jazz party. It's going to be so much fun, man. Follow me on the website. Check out the website, www.IamRobertNelson, Instagram at IamRobertNelsonSTL, and Facebook, Robert Nelson. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing you back in the studio. And the next time we'll have a camera that'll just kind of go behind the scenes and kind of check out what we're doing and just maybe showing them how, the process.
If you would be receptive to me doing that, maybe a little bit during your that would make my heart happy.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I think we need to document, and show people the process and how cool it is and how comfortable this place is, man. And how inspiring the atmosphere that you guys have set up here. I mean, you've taken a lot of detail. You've given a lot of thought to the way things are here.
Yeah, well, Doug has quite the, Doug Furley is the main mastermind behind the studio creativity and how everything functions. And he is something else. He's
clearly
incredible at what he does.
Clearly.
Lots of experience.
Clearly.
And, lots of very positive energy. And so, yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
So much fun. Yeah, so I am RobertNelson.com.
I am RobertNelson.com.
And then ShockCitySchoolOfMusic.com.
I am Robert Nelson STL for Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
We're going to meet a lot of cool people. And I want to see some of you guys at the show. Come out and introduce yourselves and party with us.
Maybe wear a cool hat?
Yeah, maybe wear a cool hat. You think we should wear hats that night?
I don't know.
Yeah.
maybe not.
No, maybe.
Oh, maybe these
later.
Maybe more of a night hat.
Oh. We'll come up with something. We didn't do this. This happened today.
Well, I kind of was thinking, so normally I'd wear a hat like this outside, but I've been wearing hats on some of my inside, podcasting things. And I knew we had talked about the hat thing. So I was like, we're going to have this connection. We're going to wear this hat, do the hat thing. It just happened. Anyways, thank you again for being here. You guys have been listening to Coffee Conversations. I'm your host, Jen Lobonc Billhartz, with Shock City School of Music, and the wonderful Robert Nelson, singer, performer out of St. Louis, Missouri. So thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for sticking with us today with Coffee Conversations. My name's Jen Lobonc Billhartz. I am your host from Shock City School of Music, and our guest today was Robert Nelson, a local jazz musician from St. Louis. And he has joined us, told us about his recent projects, which are amazing. You can find him at IamRobertNelson.com, and you can find us at shockcityschool.com under the blog. We hope to see you soon. Coffee Conversations and Shock City School of Music is delighted to be a sponsor of a wonderful upcoming event. We just got new information about Wineapallooza, and I wanted to share that with you today. So Wineapallooza, it's Wineapallooza, is a wine and music tasting event, and it is happening October 17th at a winery in Nevada, Missouri. Tickets are only $5 and come with a complimentary glass of wine or non-alcoholic beverage. And they just today announced the lineup. We've got headlining Matthew Gardner, Todd et al., who was a previous guest of ours, Matthew Harper, Cowboy Russell Wayne, Dangerous Doug, Andrew and Logan, and gates open with DJ Skinny for a pre-party. Event is from 1 until 8 p.m., Saturday, October 17th in Nevada, Missouri at DeLaney Vineyard and Winery. Again, $5 tickets includes music from all of those lovely artists, plus a complimentary glass of wine. So make sure you put that into your schedule and check them out. And again, we are so happy to be sponsoring this wonderful event this year.